Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Pro AV today. We live in this increasingly digital world, and one of the places that you see that impact our community specifically is in the workforce. As technology continues to advance rapidly with tools like AI and web-based tools, really almost at a breakneck pace, it's imperative that as a community of technicians and workers and developers, we continuously find ways to retrain, recertify, and adapt to some of the changing demands that the industry has put forth. So I wanted to have a conversation today with somebody who really knows that industry inside and out, and that's Jenni Troutman, Head of Products and Services for AWS Training and Certification. Jenni, thanks so much for coming on today.
Thanks much. I'm excited to be here.
Jenni, obviously there are few people who do it as well as AWS from a training and certification perspective, and that's objective, right? That is not a subjective opinion. But the reality is that this increasingly digital world has forced a lot of people to get really uncomfortable, maybe with some of their old professions, some of their old jobs and skill sets. Talk about some of the ways that that's directly impacted the workforce.
Yeah, at AWS, we've always operated under the belief that gaining new skills helps people grow their careers. And I think it's especially critical right now as we're seeing technology advancement so rapid. We just did a study actually with Gallup. The findings just came out, and what we learned was businesses across every industry. So we're not just talking tech sector, we're talking across all industries, agriculture, education, retail, believe that next gen technologies are going to be increasingly critical to their success in industry. So when I say next gen, I'm talking about things like cloud computing, artificial intelligence and machine learning, blockchain, 5G. It's the skills, it's the areas where there aren't a lot of skills. And so to be able to get out there and build some of those skills is a great opportunity to grow your career.
Well, you bring up an interesting point, and one of the things that I love is that you guys over at AWS have really embraced a number of different ways to learn, but micro-skilling really being one of those areas of learning. And as you see people that are in a number of different industries, right, whether it's agriculture, whether it's traditional B2B industrial industries, there is kind of this fear sometimes of, oh, what do I need to know? And do I have to completely give up all the skills that I'm currently using? I love to see the way that you guys encourage kind of the building blocks, almost, if you will, of learning. Talk about some of the ways that you're seeing people in some of those traditional, maybe agricultural, industrial industries, grab some of these skills and really use them to their benefit.
Yeah. So, the beauty of the virtual world that we kind of jumped into full force with the pandemic is that you can now get access to all kinds of information at your fingertips. And what we've done to try and help people have that kind of learn as you need it, when you need it, in bite-sized chunks is we've actually put out hundreds, over 600 just free courses out there for people, and they can be very specific. It can be something extensive if you want to go build skills, or it can be a small piece. It can be, hey, I'm actually looking to do something very specific. I want to understand. I'm already a developer maybe, and I want to understand how to build AI into my applications. You go out and take a short training on a service that's available that will help you do that. And by short, I mean less than 10 minutes to understand what the service is. And then you can decide if that's something you want to learn more about. And it's available anytime. And so I would say if you're looking at, hey, I want to learn a little bit about something new and decide if it's an area I want to jump into, there is more information than you can imagine out there. And you just got to jump online and look at it. We have something called AWS Skill Builder where you can go on and you can find pretty much any cloud computing topic you can imagine there at your fingertips.
That's a great point, Jenni. And one of the things, too, you mentioned about really those short, really trainings and certifications is that as roles continue to evolve, job descriptions continue to evolve, right? So now having an AWS certification or training, it really is a core differentiator for a lot of people, especially as they're applying to new jobs, trying to find points of entry into different industries. Talk about how important it is to leverage these certifications and trainings, especially from a workforce application development or an application perspective.
Yeah. So the beauty of a certification is it proves you can do something. And so the learning it takes to get that certification is pretty extensive. But what it means is you can take that credential and you can go out and get a job. Or if you're a business and someone has that credential, you see it and you're like, ooh, that's somebody I want to hire. It's high demand. And we're making it more fun to earn them. So if you go out there and you are just getting started in digital tech, cloud computing, for example, maybe you aren't deeply technical and you just want to move into a marketing role in a company that is doing a lot of work in the cloud. Maybe it's a software as a service business, and so they need a marketer that understands their business model. You can go in and take a self-paced course to get your cloud practitioner, which is the foundational certification, and that will make you far more marketable. And we've made it fun. So if you prefer traditional learning, it's out there. You can do self-paced, you can do just pure reading, you can do videos, kind of however you want it. We also introduced game-based learning for people who enjoy gaming. And what we found is that we have something called AWS Cloud Quest, and we have it for our key certifications. So if you're going to take a cloud practitioner, you can go on for free and you create your avatar and you get hands-on with the AWS Council and you learn as you go and you learn the different services, but you're doing it in a fun environment. What we've seen is when people do that, they go from watching videos in 10-minute increments, and it might take weeks to get, a 6-hour course done, to going through the whole thing in one sitting because they're having so much fun. They just keep going deeper and deeper. And we had one person post on I believe it was on LinkedIn. It was on social media. I went in thinking I was going to start this to get my cloud practitioner certification. And I now have 3 certifications, 2 advanced certs. And because I was having so much fun, I just kept learning. That's what I love to hear.
Well, it's always fun to really hear about those individuals who a lot of times take that initiative to train and learn and really build up their own careers. But there's even an opportunity for employers, right? You talk about training and upskilling and certification actually being a driver for things like retention and employee satisfaction. How are you seeing employers at scale leverage a lot of these tools?
Yes. So employers now, if you look up job descriptions for key cloud roles, you'll often see a certification as a requirement. So they use that to vet, but they're also using it to upskill their own workforces. So a lot of companies have recognized that if they're going to actually get all of the digital skills they need in house, they can't just recruit them all. It's a high demand market. So they're skilling up their existing workforces. And what they found, we did a study with a third party, and what we found was that employers who invest in training and certification, within 3 years, they have a 234% return on the investment. And in fact, they've recovered the cost in 6 months. So it's highly valuable for them in terms of increasing their innovation, increasing their migration rate to the cloud, and their employee retention. We found rates of 10 to 35% increased employee retention. And then also decreases in time to upskill new employees, and even in filling open roles. So they went from having open roles that were all posted externally to filling 20 to 30% of them in-house by upskilling their employees. And that was, a win-win for everyone. Lots of cost savings and time savings on the employer side, but also for individuals, their employers investing in them, they're more likely to stay and grow and develop.
Well, look, obviously the ROI is there from a training and certification perspective, but even looking at a more macro lens, some of the core business objectives for many people these days involve things like equity, diversity, inclusion. It's hard to have those conversations sometimes because there could be barriers put up from time to time. But one of the things that especially decentralized education has allowed is it's allowed people to teach people across the globe, right? It doesn't matter if you're a man, woman, whatever gender or whatever ethnicity you are, you now have an opportunity that we might not have had at scale 10 years ago. Talk about some of the ways that you've seen the barriers come down because of this decentralization of education.
Yes, so I would say we've had a big focus on diversity and inclusion as part of our skilling efforts. And I'll give you a couple examples. One is the free training. So Amazon made a commitment in 2020 to train 29 million people for free by 2025. And last year, I think it was August or September, we said we were at 13 million. And I'll give you a hint, we're hiring that now. I can't give you the number, but we'll have a new number out in fall. And the way we've done it is by making content available for free to anyone to learn anytime. And so it's out there, and it's just up to the learner to have the motivation to access it. But then we've also put very structured programs in place to help people not only get access to skills, but get access to not only get access to cloud skills, but get access to job ready skills and resources to help kind of maintain lives while building those skills, and then get people connected to jobs. So, for example, we have a program called AWS Restart, where we partner with organizations in different locations, so different organizations across the globe, and we create whole cohorts. And for 3 months, people come in. They have support for daycare if they need it, potentially transportation, and we get them ready in those 3 months for an entry level cloud job, technical cloud job, and then connect them with employers to get them employed. So it's not just for the self-starters who want to kind of take a class here or there, but also there are very structured programs to help people get new jobs. And there was one that I particularly loved, which was, there was a man who just before the pandemic, his dream was always to open a gym, and he opened it right before the pandemic hit, not ideal timing. And he learned about Restart then, and he came in to Restart, said, you know what, my dream is still a gym, but I think if I get some technical skills, I can weather the storm. I can provide for my family for the next few years, and then hopefully reopen my gym because he had to close it. And he did. He got a job and he continued working. I don't know yet if he's opened his gym yet. But I do know that he was very excited to be able to get a job in a totally different industry, learn something new, and still keep his dream alive.
Well, you bring up a great point, and I want to talk for a second with what I'll call really more the gig economy, right? Everybody calls it that. It's not something I made up, obviously. But this increase of kind of the gig economy, where people are able to leverage hard skills at a much smaller basis, or commodities at a much smaller basis. That is a semi-relatively new opportunity that this digital world has allowed for us. Would you dig in a little bit deeper there? I know you mentioned obviously the gentleman who wanted to open a gym, but what are some of the opportunities that you're seeing from a hard micro skilling standpoint that's really empowering the gig economy?
Yeah, I mean, there are so many roles that are coming up over time. So some of the more entry level ones tend to be in, and I'm focused a little bit more on cloud, but tend to be more in kind of cloud operations, customer service. There's a lot around customer service in this space. And then there's quite a bit in data and analytics. So especially now as we're moving into AI and ML becoming commonplace in companies, there's entry level, starting with pure data analytics. But then there are a lot of paths that you can take as you deepen your skills, that you can go down the path of becoming a data engineer. You can become an architect. You can actually go in and become a developer, and you're leveraging the models, the data models you created to now support your application. So there's so many different paths people take, and it's a matter of getting started at those entry levels. And then finding out where your passion is and kind of going deeper and deeper. And you can go in these, in these new technologies, you can go as deep as you're comfortable getting.
Well, you bring up obviously AI and machine learning. It kind of is the hot topic du jour, if you will. But one of the interesting challenges is because there's constant evolution, there's constant need for recertification, retraining, deeper training, things like that. How are you seeing people, especially those who are in the training programs, how are you seeing them dig a little bit deeper and continuing to learn and evolve through some of those recertification and training programs?
Yeah. So what I would say is the path that is typically taken and that we encourage is to you need to have continuous learning. You need to just get used to the fact that we're never going to stop learning if we're going to keep growing. And so the way we recommend people start, though, is constantly reassess your goal. Where are you now? Where are you trying to get? And then build a plan and work back from that. And so I give you the example of the person that first got cloud practitioner certified. That was their goal. They went through the training, they got there, they got their job. And then they said, by the way, this is really fun. And I'm learning that architecture and cloud is quite interesting to me. So they went super deep on cloud architecture and got first the associate and then the professional. But that's what it takes, is constantly reassessing. where you are, what your goals are, and then continuing to learn in that space. And it could be trying new things. It could be going deeper in the area you're in, but you got to keep at it. You got to keep going back. Otherwise, those skills get stale pretty fast.
Well, Jenni, I'll give you the last word here, and I always love to ask this question. It's pretty open-ended, but when you look into the future, right, you pull out the crystal ball, you try and predict what's going to happen. What are some of the ways that you anticipate certification training, especially from an employee and employer perspective? How do you continue to see, or how do you expect to see that impacting the job market here in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I think certification is going to continue to be important to demonstrate credentialing, and I think it's going to be very tightly coupled with jobs. So it's going to be aligned to very specific roles, not generic technologies, but very specific roles to demonstrate you can do that role, or for a employer to understand that you can do that role. And I think it's going to continue. I think it's going to go down the path of maybe a handful of very high stakes role-based certifications, but more and more what we call micro credentialing, which is not necessarily super high stakes, monitored, proctored certifications on top of your cert, but smaller bits of badges or credentials that can show that you're learning other areas in order to keep kind of a well-rounded portfolio of understanding.
Well, we've been speaking today with Jenni Troutman from AWS. Jenni, thank you so much for coming on today. Your insight has been incredibly valuable. I know not only for the technology community, but obviously the B2B community and the developer community as a whole. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you. I'm clearly passionate about the space and appreciate the chance to talk about it.
And thank you to our viewers. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We hope to see you again next time.